At this very desk, this is the comic book that I got for a birthday of 1965. And when the Beatles first came on TV, it was February 9th on my birthday, but this is the same comic that I had gotten way back when for a birthday of 65. And I remember looking at this comic book when the Beatles were on TV the first time. I think that was, it was February 9th, but I think it was either 63 or 64. It wasn't 65. But I remember looking at this comic, and I might have even got this comic the year they were on TV, but I remember this comic when they were first on TV. So anniversary this Sunday. Jim!
Yes?
Oh, and that's the very same desk where I was looking at it, right here. I opened it up and I was reading on this desk. That's why I opened it up. I was sitting on the chair. Not the same chair, though. Well, Jim? Oh, no!
They're still back.
Oh, gee.
Let me get a closer look at these things.
Yeah.
You don't want to get up high.
Here it is. Here it is. We're coming into a special room. Here it is.
You must be talking about our old room.
And there's that old light fixture.
There's that old light.
Yeah, we look at that. It's off this time so we can get a better look at it. But, well, Jim, it may have a few bugs in it, but it's still
not any worse than the ones we just seen.
That's for sure. Jim, come on in the old room. Come on in the old room, Jim. Oh, gee.
Oh.
Hey,
another one.
You're a Beatle. You belong downstairs in the television. He's an honor here, too, the Beatles' anniversary. No, come on. Get out of here. Go up here. Well, here it is. The room. Our special room. Now, we're going to spend a little bit of time in this room talking about things. And, what's that, Jim? Okay, what memories does this room have for you?
Right along this window here. And I slept around where that back window is over there.
I know, how it used to be set up was, for a long time, my bed was over here. My head was right here. The headboard was here. So I slept right here. This is where my bed was here. And then we had some room here, right? And then we had, your bed was facing this way. Your head was facing there, right?
Right.
And you had a, tell us about the Jesus statue on the wall there, Jim. How'd you get there? What about that?
Yeah, there was like a bust.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a bust of Jesus.
And I got that for selling a lot of Christmas cards.
Yeah?
In elementary school.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like the top seller.
And it was a really nice bust of Jesus. Do you still have that bust, by the way?
Yes, I do. It's in my bedroom to this day.
Well, anyway, what was really nice about it was, now this room, Jim and I spent time in here, and then he moved away. Then you moved away to Willoughby. And you moved out on your own. You got your McDonald's job and whatnot, and you work in McDonald's. And, but he used to sleep over there. I remember you slept there. I slept here. Now, what? Now, I want you to get this wall in this area. Okay, now, does this look familiar, Jim?
Yes, that's an old light, yes.
Does this look familiar, Jim?
Yes, it does.
Maybe if you kill that just for a second. Kill the light for a bit, maybe it'll come out. This was the same light that we had in our dresser. Now, our dresser was right here. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Now, we didn't have in our room. But here is my very first and only transistor radio I used to listen to in this room. Getting this?
Go ahead.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Here it is, the very first radio. Now, you had a radio too, I know. But look at that E. Maybe it's somebody we know. Anyway, I put these stickers on here. Now, many times I brutalized my toys and my radios. Now, look at this thing. It still works, but see this? This just fell out of there. I used to hold this in place. It's like helping the reception. You got that?
Oh, yeah.
And I would hold this in place. I'd move it around, and that would help the reception come in. But there it is. You see, it's not corroded really that much. That's my very first transistor radio. I listened to a lot of the oldies and stuff on. Some of my favorite songs. There it is, brought back to the old room just for this occasion. Now we have some we're going to have today in this room. This is one of my first musical instruments. never worked, but there it is. Got this for Christmas. There it is, one of my first musical instruments before I got the guitar, and that's coming up real soon. And now, Jim, if you can stand up, what we're going to do is, now your bed was here, and right here in between, I think, was a little record player. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
It was a little record player that we used, or I used, but it was a RCA right here. It was on. I still have the TV stand for it. That was on, but it was a RCA Victor little mono record player. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And it had the little. It was blue and white. And the reason I'm bringing that up because this is the very first time, the very first Beatles single I ever got is where is it? Here it is. The very first Beatle record I ever got was Hey Jude. Here it is. Hey Jude Revolution, the very same one. Now it came on the black sleeve. Here's the black sleeve that it came in. Another Beatle record I got. Happy Christmas, War is Over, John Lennon. See that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the original sleeve I think for the Hey Jude. Then look at these. This is for Beatle collectors. The Beatles, the Inner Light, a picture sleeve. I don't know how much this goes for now, but the Lady Madonna and the Inner Light. That's the original. Then I bought this one, the Beatles, You Know My Name, Look Up the Number. Now what is the other side of this but Let It Be? I bought this over at Shoregate. That's where I got pretty much all my records, was at Shoregate, and got this at Record, I forget the name of that store. It was a record store there. I think it was just called the Record Shop, I think it was. Anyway, here it is. The very first Beatle record Mom and Dad ever got me. Here it is, the very same record. It's the only one I ever had. Beatles 65 in mono, and they bought this for me. But look it's a mono record. Look at the sleeve. Let me look at the label. It's mono, not stereo. Real collector's item, I'm sure. And there was a Marshall's drugstore over at Shoregate, and that's where I got a lot of these records. I got them for $1.77, $1.79 they were.
Big difference now.
Here is the very first. Oh, I love this. On this little mono record player. Now, Beatles recorded a lot of their records in mono, so what you were hearing wasn't stereo, but mono the way they intended it to be. This is my first and only copy of Sgt. Pepper's. I heard it in this room for the very first time. I got shivers. I loved it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Here it is, the very first album, and inside we have the famous picture, and the only thing I ever took out of the cutout was the mustache. You know? Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. There it is, though.
Oh, it is.
And I never took out these things. They're still connected, see? But
Yep.
there it is. The very first Beatle album. Now, what's in here is nothing. No, there is something in here. Look at the picture, the inner sleeve. I don't think you can get this anymore. But here, specifically put inside this sleeve, this isn't the original record, but I'll show it to you. Here it is, the picture disc of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Oh yeah.
And look at the back. The back is the drum head. Isn't that wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is the very first room and the very first record player. I wasn't able to get it out. I don't even know if I still have it, but I heard it in this room against this wall. Couldn't believe it. Now, what did the Beatles have significance for me, Jim? Well, the thing was that I liked to sing the Beatles. And I remember sitting going places in the car and singing Beatles songs in the back, and I didn't know the words. I thought Venus I Love You was P.S. I Love You I thought was Venus I Love You. I didn't know what the words were, and the Beatle cartoons were on. Now this is all leading up to something. Anyway, these are my first records of the Beatles. Now, Jim, here they are again. First Beatle records. Played in this room. Now, put it on pause for a moment. If you can, put it on pause for our next installment. Well, I brought some tapes with me, and we're going to go through a few of these tapes in this room, because this is the room that has the most memories for me, because how I first learned to sing like the Beatles was in this room, the thing that I'm known for so well. And so many of the things that I've done in this room, the songs I've written, I've done in this room, and I'll be talking about that shortly. But right now we're going to get into, this is a tape. This is a tape here that, this isn't my original tape machine, but I had another reel-to-reel, which I still have. But this box here, we used to get tapes. Now, the very first reel-to-reel I ever got, was called, it was a Mayfair, little reel-to-reel mini thing. And let's see if I have anything from that in here. I don't know if I do. No, I don't have any remnants from that thing here with me. Well, anyway, I used to go and get, see, this is an Uncle Bill's, 26 cents for a little reel of tape. And I used to get into recording all sorts of things like, there's all kind of things on here, like, I used to make up little things like skits, all kind of stuff. And I would always close this door, you know. So this was the sight that people got. This was the view that I had all the time, was this door closed. And I was in here, and whether Jim or anybody could hear me, I didn't know, I didn't care. I just knew that I was in here doing my thing. And recording things, and making up things, and making up skits. Anyway, here's one of the first tapes, so we're going to listen to a tape of way back when. And Jim is going to pan the room while this is playing if he wants. This is I used to like playing like a disc jockey and an announcer, so that's what this little tape is we'll listen to for a moment.
Presenting the 7:32 news. And the top headlines of the hour for the yes, our Corporate Director was married. And also, the sounds out. And also, Fantastic Feats with Dollywood Machine.
I used to make up comic book characters. Anyway,
the 7:32 news.
I made up a group called The Sound.
Is Gary Schultz.
Gary Schultz. I was playing like a disc jockey. People told me I should have been a disc jockey.
Going on. One of these Corporate Director was marriage. And here's the story.
That we got on the reel-to-reel. These are the original tapes, by the way. It's another one of those Allegro tapes for 26 cents from Uncle Bill's. No longer Uncle Bill's, is there, Jim? That's an antique in
A
itself.
long time ago, yes.
This tape now, this is one of the first tapes I have on reel-to-reel before I had a cassette. It's going to sound really crummy, really strange, but this is me singing with the Beatle record. And this was the early parts of me learning how to sing like the Beatles. So let's listen for a moment. If we can make it out. Now, who is who? That's me and Paul. It sounds so terrible, you can't tell who's who. Well, it's too bad there's not a John Lennon song on there right now. That's what I've been known for doing. Are we a go? Well, the reel-to-reel was something for a while, and making all kind of music and comedy bits and whatever. But this tape recorder is similar to one of the very first tape recorders I received for Christmas. It was a little portable, mono tape recorder, exactly like this. It was sound design, and this opened up a whole new world for me because I started writing a lot of songs. And one of the very original tapes that I have, I started writing songs with the little small reel-to-reel Mayfair, and this is one of the original tapes. I made up a group called The Sound, and I wrote a lot of songs through this imaginary cartoon group called The Sound, and this is one of the very first original tapes. And we'll be hearing that in a moment. But as a matter of fact, before we get into the cassette phase, let me let you hear one of the last phases of the reel-to-reel phase. Put on pause.
All right.
Ready? Well, one of the very first album from this group called The Sound, and what you're going to hear is the original recording of the song, one of the very first songs I wrote, called "The Bakery Man Is Waiting." It's very faint, but this is the original. And here we go. tell you, that dit-dit in the background is not Jim. It's not anybody else singing. It's all me. The Mayfair tape recorder had the capabilities of recording over itself without erasing the previous tracks. So I was able to do like the Beatles. I was able to make my own overdubs, but I couldn't hear what I was doing. That's why the sounds changed, the beats changed. It was running on batteries. And it sounds that way because of that. I couldn't hear what the previous tracks were. That's why it stops and starts. But that's the original. The bakery man is waiting. That's the original. The recording I did was in this very room, sitting on my bed most of the time, and writing these songs. A lot of times I was up, standing here at the dresser was where my lyrics were, and I would look at the lyrics, and I didn't have any guitar except a little plastic M&E guitar I beat. That's where the beating is on the recording. I played it like a little drum. That was my percussion. Before, Jim wasn't there to help me, I guess. So I was beating the beat on the drum, playing a little flute that you hear there, a little corny harmonica, all these overdubs. It was like my version of Sgt. Pepper's. I was so impressed. But I used to, that was a sight. I'd look at this wall and look at the lyrics, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of memories, right here in this room. Well, I realize there's only so much to look at in this room, and I hope this isn't too boring for you people, but or whoever. But anyway, what happened after the cassette entered my life, I started, well, of course I was writing songs back then on the reel-to-reel, but then cassettes opened up a new possibility because the recordings were clearer. The batteries seemed to last longer in these tape decks. And one of the first things, now this is Bessie's tape recorder that she let me borrow today for clarity, because it's going to play louder and better on here. This is a recording. I used to make up skits all the time, and I don't know how this sounded to anybody out there. It didn't seem to matter. But I made up little, I didn't follow scripts. I'd make these things up. And this is the original tape, the Senator Knucklehead interview. And I would do these phony laughs, like, and it sounded like people. You know, I'd always put these laugh tracks on my tapes. So I was like a one-man show. And just where you're sitting, Jim, this is the wall I'd always see. I'd see there. I'd walk over here, like more than one person in the room. I'd talk over here. Excuse me, Senator Knucklehead. Yeah, boy, what you want? And I'd step over here and I'd have the sound of like more than one person in the room. So we're going to hear a piece of this interview here. This is all me. It's the original recording, and you're going to hear this guy come in all of a sudden, burst in the room. It was Jim. It's you, Jim. So here it is.
I'm going to be abroad in some other country. Now, does that answer your question? Awesome. No, never mind. Thank you anyway. Yeah, you're back there. Yeah, you're back there. Way back there. Yeah.
Senator, I represent the World News Press.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to inquire, what do you think of President Nixon visiting China?
Oh, we'll get her. Jim's gonna come in. You'll hear him. Hey, watch.
I think that.
I get mad. Listen.
I think really that President Nixon should have something better to do than going around and visit. Man, sorry about that fool back here. Keep that man out of here. Yeah, no, what I was saying though, what was your question again?
I was asking, what do you think of President Nixon visiting
And we'll hear my laughs
China?
at the end of this, and you'll get the idea what I used to do.
What do
with
I
laughs.
think of President Nixon visiting China? Well, I'll tell you, son. I think that President Nixon should be doing something a lot better with his time rather than going around and talking with his wife's best china.
Well, there it is. That's Jim making your appearance in one of my recordings. How long were you listening out the door there before you came in?
Well, who knows?
Anyway, songs. Now, one of the very first times. Okay, then we started I started learning guitar. The very first guitar I ever had, I couldn't bring it today because I couldn't bring everything. But this is the very same harmonica holder the only one I've ever had. It's not the same harmonica. So we're going to hear the very first recording I ever made with that harmonica holder. It was an album I had called Country Cousins. And here's the original picture thing. It's called Country Cousins.
Well, I sure can make
Here it
go
is.
of it.
Doing a song I didn't write. But I made up a lot of songs as I went along. But here it is, the very first harmonica holder. We'll listen for a moment.
This is a tune by Dylan, If Not For You.
Again, all this was recorded in this room. Now you can slowly pan this wall, maybe pan the room while you're listening for a moment.
By the way, I think we should bring up about these dolls that are on his bed.
What about these dolls?
Yeah.
These dolls were not in the room when we were here. We were not.
I
funny
hope
boy.
not.
Especially this doll's got a plastic bag on its face. Anyway, there's Pete. Original recording. So pan the room for a moment and I'll tell you when to stop there, Jim. The way I used to see it is the way the camera's eye is. This is how I used to look at the room. Just where you're sitting is where the view I used to get doing these songs. Sitting on my bed, standing up, whatever. Obviously, there's tons of tapes, but this is just a little piece of what I used to do. Stop it here. Why not? We'll be right back. Well, now what we're going to get into is a couple more little reel-to-reel samples. And this is one of the original recordings I transferred over to reel-to-reel. And these were originally on cassette, but here's one of the ones that I got into doing. With my very first guitar. And again, everything you're hearing has been written and recorded in this room. Now another thing that I want to bring up, you're going to hear it here in a moment. It's more than one person right here. I'm going to tell you something about this process. I had discovered by taking two tape recorders like this, I was able to play back one tape, record on the second tape, and overdub to this. So that's what these tapes are. It was like my own little overdubbing that I did way back when before I even had a reel-to-reel. And it worked because I was able to hear what I was recording. It sounded tinny and corny, but one of the first albums that I did this process was called Rinky Dinky Dock, and it was all little overdubs like this, and that's the original recording. It's called Bad Surprise. And again, it was done with the cassette decks, and I still have the recordings. Let's hear one more. Give it a stop. Hold on. Again, with two tape recorders. It might have even been my reel-to-reel and the tape cassette deck. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was both cassette decks. But we're going to listen to one of the recordings that... this is the original recording, again, done with that cheap overdub process. And also, this was a song that my band picked up. We actually took it in the recording studio years later and actually recorded professionally. But this is one of the songs from that same phase called Lonely Worship. And this will be the last of the songs we'll play on the tapes here. Here it is, the original of Lonely Worship. It's all me, as cheap and tinny as it is.
Now I know why you put them up here.
Jim.
Without you, without you, you know I love you. I know it's true, and you help me to love you, help me to need you alone. And now I see the light, and so do you, that you really do not love me. So I love you, so I love you. So you love me now. Perhaps the point is slow, but you'll find the lonely question. Loving you, loving you, loving you, loving you, loving you.
We are going to do something that hasn't been done in this room for many years. We're going to have a little jam in just a moment. We'll be right back with you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here he is. Yep, behind the camera, he steps out, and now we're going to do something we have. This was the room. Now, Jim, you used to sit, your bed was there, and you sat on the bed, and we had farm hits.
Right.
This is the room we had farm hits in, but we're going to do something different today.
We're gonna do no farm hits.
No, we won't do farm hits today. We don't have any farm things.
Okay.
But anyway, we're going to do a little song for the special occasion. Music has not taken place in this room for a long time, so here it is.
Liven it up. Liven it up.
A brand new little song for the occasion. First we start out. It's been a long